Hey y'all, welcome to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And we're just gonna dive into this one because it's been a fucking week of researching.
Ooh.
It has been tough because this is a topic that if I wanted, we could have started talking about it on the pod probably like a month and a half ago, just because there are about 50 to 75 names that we could have come up with to
Oh my
talk about
goodness.
and done history on. But this isn't a podcast for people who are terminally online and have to deal with all sorts of things like what's a tanky, who's
It's
snow himbo, who's
it's oh my God. It's just a podcast that's run by two people who are terminally
right.
online.
I have no choice but to be terminally online with the things I'm talking about, and it's the worst. The what's the word I'm working for? The for you category of this podcast Twitter is hell. It is the goddamn worst. And some of it's really great. I've met some awesome people who I follow, but also, I do have to follow some terrible people to keep up with the news, and it is fucking frustrating.
Oh man. And then that's the algorithm. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, you're doing the work for us. We don't even have to like
Mhm.
quietly, slowly shuffle you towards alt-right ideology.
Uh-huh.
Ugh.
Yeah, the worst part is we started the third party podcast right at the time that third parties were starting to implode for varying reasons. So
Well,
it's
I've never
just
been good with timing.
no,
So
no. I mean, it's great for things to talk about, but it is highly disappointing in every regard.
no, we're gonna bring it back single-handedly.
Yes, the Ford Party really has some fucking ideas. So
Oh no, but not like that. No, I mean
no,
like the
look,
good ones.
I will say this too right now. We're not doing a news brief on this. The Forward Party's kind of fucked going into the next year. They had to shut down their Minnesota chapter out of nowhere, and they're like, "Oh, we're just restructuring." But
Oh,
I don't buy that. There's people who are just leaving, and it's 2024 is a ways off, and you guys have introduced zero candidates. So what's your fucking plan?
oh no, it's a separation, but Dad's still living at the
It's
motel.
not.
Oh,
Yes. Oh my god. He wants to talk to you about math, and it's just the worst.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's a long way of saying today's topic is probably one of the harder we had to cover just because there's just so many people involved in this and it's so sprawling.
This is the party that Andrew Yang was like, yeah, this one, let's do it.
Oh my god. Separate from Andrew Yang, this particular topic has been very
Oh,
difficult.
oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so for today, we're going to be hitting a lot of the big notes. Usually, we specialize in a lot of deep dives and going into stuff. There's going to be minimal of that. I cannot, for the sake of my own sanity and for Una's sanity and
Yeah.
for just the time of the podcast, we'd be on here for like 6 hours talking about something, and it's
Put
just
on your water skis, listeners, because we are going totally an inch over that water.
seriously. I could tell you at least the main whys and the major dramatic question of this issue in 45 minutes, and there are other people who are much better for the nitty gritty of things. But that's a long, long way to saying that we are talking about the upcoming anti-war rally, Rage Against the War Machine.
Oh,
Una, do you get it? Do you get the joke they're making?
I haven't heard about this at all, like at all. What even is this?
Oh God, yeah. So we're gonna dive into it. It's really bad you haven't heard of it because it's this Sunday.
Oh no,
It
but
is.
I have nothing to wear and
I
I
mean, you're
plan to
wearing
wash
your
my hair.
Oberlin hoodie. That should be.
Shut up.
But
Don't
yeah,
out me like that.
but I think it says a lot that we both don't like war, and we had no clue an anti-war rally was really going on. So this Sunday, the Rage Against the War Machine is happening, and yeah, it's just going to take a lot of talk because I think we need to look at the major dramatic question of this: is this an anti-war rally? And I want you to let me know when you've decided on whether or not it is or it isn't.
Oh no.
But
Okay.
before we
Hit
dive
me.
into things, I do have to give some major thanks to some folks on Twitter. Zaina Day and Renee Johnson, who've been looking into this pretty much on a daily basis. Craig Bowden, who runs the Liberty Torch media website, who has done daily parts on this rally because even in the past day, usually we record on Monday, we're recording on Tuesday. Every day there's something new. And he has been going at this every single day and has been incredible. And also the Post Left Watch, that whole Twitter account is about following people who used to be progressives who are now kind of taking a Trumpy tone.
Yikes.
So
Oh
that's all not
no.
exactly the best setup what this is going to be. But special thanks to all of them. They've done some really amazing work and have made the job of researching all of this so much easier than it should have been. So, like I said, the rally's taking place on Sunday on the 19th, and it's the result of a bit of an unlikely marriage between two third parties. On one end, you have the Libertarian Party, who's hosting it. And on paper, it probably sounds pretty bizarre, but
Yeah, I can't imagine libertarians hosting a party because everyone would have to bring their own food and drink.
Right,
Fucking
your own
moochers.
chair. But the Libertarian Party, since their existence, has had a non-aggression plank in their set of policies where they have always been anti-war. And it's I'm sure there are members of the Libertarian Party who believe this because war sucks and it's awful and people die and we shouldn't do it. But a lot of the libertarian talk behind it is war is expensive, it's a waste of money, so we shouldn't do it.
I mean, they're not wrong.
Right, yeah. I mean,
like the industrial military complex is just a tax sink.
Yeah, like we shouldn't be giving Boeing and Lockheed Martin all this fucking money. And there's so much other stuff we could do with that money if we didn't do it. Probably hard to disagree with a lot of libertarians on that, but
I'd love to know what they do with that.
That's a really easy answer, actually. It's that you should just have it. You just should never be taxed, and that tax money is what would be spent for it. So it's more that sort of a thing.
Got it.
But yeah, so that's it's mostly a non-interventionist statement of not being a part of war, that like we don't get involved in international things. It's just us. So war is bad in that regard.
Right.
On the other side, we have some old friends. Friend, because I'm not really sure if they have more than like a half dozen members at this point. The Movement for a People's Party is sponsoring the second half of this.
Oh
yeah, out of
those old chums.
Yeah, Nick Brana fell into the fucking infinity pool. It came out the brand new Ra's al Ghul. You can't get rid of this man. He is always going to find a new way to bring on new members. So yeah, so you have an anti-war rally. The two lead organizers are the Libertarian Party and the People's Party coming together.
I can't believe I haven't heard about this rally.
It's yep. And to make things even more fucked up, they have been co-endorsed by the Green Party. Now, I will note, due to a number of people I follow on Twitter, it is due to a razor-thin margin that it was sponsored, but the Green Party has officially endorsed this rally as well. They are not so much putting money towards it, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. So we have covered the Libertarian Party as it is now. They're being run by the Mises Caucus. So you can hop back to an episode and listen to that about why it sucks so much. But a general overview is that the Mises Caucus is a sister org to the Neo-Confederate League of the South. And they kind of have an unhealthy obsession with being terminally online and encouraging a sort of soft American Civil War, a national divorce, as they've been calling it.
But in this case, maybe a soft, not civil war, but civil disagreement that ends in a broken union.
It's a lot more like balkanization, which which we all know didn't result in any wars whatsoever.
Oh no.
Yeah, and the MPP, as we said, is led by Nick Brana, who, as a quick overview, has been accused of, very strong accusations of sexual assault. The party's gone through two major purges of members due to people just having basic challenges against Nick Brana as leader. And they've kind of abandoned progressivism, which used to be their main thing, Bernie Sanders themed progressivism, and have now officially stated that they are the party of anti-woke populism.
Yikes.
Which I can't think of any other party where that's their main thing.
Especially if I think by now everyone with two brain cells left to rub together is recognizing the fact that anytime someone is starting to scream woke or we could do without the wokeness is that is now just a PG catch-all for the actual bigoted term that you are thinking in your mind.
Yeah. It's so the whitewashing of whatever racism or homophobia or transphobia that you might have.
Yes.
Now has a word you can say safely in public.
Yes, and all over Twitter. Yes, and so it's the anti-woke progressivism is so bigoted. Nope. The two brain cells are starting to hurt.
Yeah, but like I said, we got the Green Party endorsing this, so I guess episode done. It's an anti-war rally because the Greens wouldn't be involved if it's pro-war, right? I mean, look, I'll just be sure. I'm going to look into the demands of the rally to make sure that it is in fact a rally about stopping war. So I'm going to fully read the first 2 of 10. The first, not one more penny for the war in Ukraine. The Democrats and Republicans have armed Ukraine with tens of billions of dollars in weapons and military aid. This war has killed tens of thousands and displaced millions and is pushing for a nuclear World War III. Stop funding the war.
Oh, I'm already deeply uncomfortable.
Why?
Like, it's like, oh, so we are already in the trenches of Russian propaganda. Like, I promise you, it's not the war leading us to a nuclear World War III.
Yeah, and I would like to note there are multiple wars going on right now. I'm going to bring up another one that we've just kind of forgotten about in the media here that's still going. I will say it's anti-war in regards to war being used in the singular version. It's anti-one war. But look, let's get to demand 2 just to make sure that you're not going off all half-cocked here. 2, negotiate peace. The US instigated the war in Ukraine with a coup on its democratically elected government in 2014, and then sabotaged a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine in March. Pursue an immediate ceasefire and diplomacy to end the war.
Oh, so this is just fully funded by the Kremlin. Okay.
Look,
God damn.
yeah, so we got a theme. As I said before, it would take a long time to explain everything, let alone those first 2 demands. So this is going to be highly simplified. But let's start with the claim that America led a coup to kick out the democratically elected government Ukraine in 2014. So this is referring to the Maidan Revolution in February 2014, when Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych had been in charge since 2014 and previously served as prime minister for 3 very short terms before. For the first 3 years, his presidency went not great.
Not great. I mean, the guy was like super corrupt, and I'm sure like you're probably getting to this, but one of the things that happened after the Maidan Revolution was that they launched themselves into the palace, and it was like white tigers in cages at their club levels
Yeah.
of just richness.
Yeah, even before he was president, Yanukovych was an oligarch by all intents and purposes, like complete with giant mega yacht and huge home. He was living well for quite some time. So he wasn't exactly an uncorrupt person to begin with.
Right. Very cozy with neighbors to the east.
Yeah. So one of the first things he did when he became president is he completely scrapped the Ukrainian constitution that they made in 2004, which heavily reduced a lot of the strengths that the Ukrainian president had. He then decided to start imprisoning political rivals and chilled journalistic efforts to report bad news about him. So not great to begin with. But things would truly fall apart in 2013 when he decided he was going to back out of closer relations with the EU and move to become closer with Russia. This seemed to mostly come from Russia offering Ukraine a higher amount of loans, to the tune that Europe was offering multi-millions and Russians were offering the country multi-billions. And so for him, it was just like, yeah, we're going to get more money if we're closer to Russia, so I'm doing that. Right. But also Russia offered lower prices in gas as well. But this also led a lot of people to become very wary because Yanukovych is from the eastern part of Ukraine where there's a high amount of the population who speaks Russian, while the western part of the country speaks Ukrainian. And Yanukovych was doing things like, hey, we're going to be closer to Russia. We're not going to join NATO. I'm going to make Russia the second official language of Ukraine. And all of these things that made people very nervous that, hey, I think Russia might try to annex us if Yanukovych is in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't bring this up later on, but Putin has made it very, very clear that he would like to become the Soviet Union again.
Like I mean, when after the Ukrainian war started, and there were all like so many thought pieces on Putin and where he's coming with all of this, and so many of them talked about this like villain origin story because he was early KGB young officer in East Germany as everything was falling apart.
Yeah.
And the wall came down.
Yeah, and it's not like he's ever made a hint that he doesn't want to be leading Russia. He's done a lot of things to ensure he can keep running Russia, and he can, stifle political opinion or journalistic opinion, or anyone who disagrees with him, or anyone who might be LGBTQ, or anyone of a racial minority of some sort. He's not exactly a good guy, and he's made it very clear that he wants to expand this. One of the things I found very interesting is there has been a heavy increase in Russia in communist iconography of various Stalin statues suddenly being brought up, of potentially renaming Volgograd back to Stalingrad. So there's hints. He's
Yeah.
definitely leaving clues.
He's looking at the lost cause in America and getting ideas.
If I can have one thing before I die.
More statues.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think in the grand scheme of things, there might have been easier opponents than Ukraine, but there's definitely like, if you can finish Ukraine, you can go after the easier ones after that. It's a big move, big, bold move, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So people are really worried with, Yanukovych deciding to allow Ukraine to be annexed by Russia, becoming more Russia friendly. And this final backing out of aligning with Europe freaks out a lot of Western Ukraine, hence starting a gigantic protest called the Maidan Revolution that it starts to be aimed at the Yanukovych government. So the protests start out in the West, and by the winter of 2014, things had turned violent. Yanukovych passed a series of laws intended to stifle the protests against him, which, tends to not always have the results that are intended. And on February 14th, Yanukovych said he would settle the situation with whatever force was necessary, short of civil war. 4 days after that, protesters barricaded themselves against police special forces, which led to a very violent attack by the police. This attack was found to occur shortly after the Russian government sent $2 billion to the Yanukovych government.
So much money.
For the next 3 days, police and protesters fought, seized buildings, set fire to political offices. By the 20th, 108 protesters had been killed with 1,100 injured. After days of violence, the parliament voted unanimously to remove Yanukovych. And on March 1st, this led to Vladimir Putin requesting the ability to send troops into Ukraine, which was approved, and led to the Russian invasion and takeover of Crimea.
Oh.
So that's why and how that happened.
Yeah.
In the wake of this, Yanukovych and Putin would claim that the Maidan Revolution had been backed by America and the EU. So essentially NATO. NATO did the revolution. This claim made its way across the internet and into the laps of PolitiFact. By the time it got to them, the claim had telephoned into Barack Obama personally earmarking $5 billion to get the Maidan protesters to riot and overthrow the government.
I mean, of course Of course, it's like, thanks, Obama. But I can also just imagine the CIA being like, hey, we take a lot of credit for a lot of coups.
Yeah.
This is not ours.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it if it
Chile?
you wouldn't know it
Yes.
if it was us, but
Iran, totally.
Yeah.
Ukraine, no. That we had no part of that.
Yeah.
You're right.
So we have Assistant Secretary Victoria Nuland to think for this conspiracy, and it's mostly just because she did her job. So during the protests, she went to Ukraine, met with Yanukovych, and implored him to, hey, maybe don't kill protesters. I'd really appreciate it. In a
Diplomacy.
Speech, yeah, right. She did her fucking job. So in a speech, she would state, quote, since Ukraine's independence in 1991, the United States has supported Ukrainians as they built democratic skills and institutions, as they promote civic participation in good governments, all of which are preconditions for Ukraine to achieve its European aspirations. And we have invested over $5 billion to assist Ukraine in these and other goals that will ensure a secure and prosperous democratic Ukraine. Which has led many people to go, see, she is admitting they spent $5 billion to overthrow the government.
Never underestimate America's hatred for a woman just doing her job.
Yeah, and for people to just ignore the fact that she said $5 billion since Ukraine gained its independence in 1991.
It's like, that. I'm sorry, that's not a lot of money in terms of like investment in a full country.
Right, yeah. And so all this money sent entirely through USAID, which is the American governing body that sends out international aid. And none of this has been hidden at all. But as for extra proof that America funded this coup, that kind of seems to hinge on two events. The first is that Senators John McCain and Chris Murphy met the leaders of the Maidan Revolution, got pictures with them, and endorsed their movement. That's typical CIA shit. You send high-profile senators to a protest to endorse a movement.
It's the accusation is the confession, because I hear that and then I think of like all of the pictures of like various Trump stooges who were literally taking pictures of themselves with Yanukovych or with like, I don't know, Putin assets. And it's like, what the thing you're yelling at is the thing you actually are admitting guilt to.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up an exact example of that in 10 minutes or so. So we'll stay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll slow my roll.
So what you're saying is 100% right, and I have receipts. But the other, and probably the more volatile of the two, was a leaked phone call between Victoria Nuland and the ambassador of Ukraine, the American ambassador of Ukraine, where it's essentially a phone call where the two of them are discussing who in the movement they'd like to see become leadership and who they think might not be qualified for it. Honestly, that just sounds like people doing their job. I don't think it's people saying, hey, we're going to ensure that this happens, but more, I like this guy. I like this person. I sure hope it's them.
Right. Right.
I can see why people think that it could be a sign of people, trying to fuck with the system. But on the other hand, I don't see it. I really don't. Because I mean, it is Occam's razor of the easiest solution is probably the right one. And I thoroughly believe that it's easier to understand that more than half of a country got pissed off and decided to have a revolution.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's like that this country might have its own agency.
Yeah, right. That is the biggest issue, is that with a lot of these people, they just completely remove the agency of so many fucking countries that, like, yeah, I thoroughly 100% agree that America would prefer that the revolution succeeds and Yanukovych is gone. That would clearly benefit America and Europe in a multitude of fashions. Doesn't mean that they let it. Doesn't mean they paid for it. Doesn't mean they cost it.
Yeah.
But then we had a little thing that happened last week. A journalist by the name of Seymour Kirsch stated that America blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Una, are you familiar with the Nord Stream pipeline and all that shit?
I am slightly. It's the pipeline that brings natural gas or oil from Russia and its reserves into Western Europe.
Correct. Yeah.
Or is it the one that's in the Baltic Sea?
Yeah, 100% correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, the Nord Stream pipeline takes natural gas from Russia to Germany. At the time, 45% of Europe's natural gas was from this pipeline.
Right.
When the war kickstarted between Ukraine and Russia, there was a bit of hesitancy to cut off the pipeline. But after a bit of time, Germany finally agreed that we're no longer going to take natural gas from Russia.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is huge.
Yeah. And then a few months after this, the Nord Stream pipeline explodes. So the one thing everyone's been able to agree on, no matter what side you're on, is that it was clearly sabotage. Something clearly blew up the pipeline in the ocean.
Okay.
No one's really been able to agree on who did it or how. Now, a couple details that make the Nord Stream pipeline interesting is that there are two of them, one of which had no natural gas in it because it was newly built, and another one had already been shut down and wasn't sending any new natural gas when it exploded. So It's pretty much already done. But the theory, if you're on the side of Russia on this, is that it would benefit America and Europe in this, or specifically America, that if you blew up a natural gas pipeline that was so beneficial to Europe, it would ensure that they would not back out if things got too hard, is the theory.
I'll wait for the rest of this story, but
so last week, Seymour Kirsch published an article on his own Substack stating that he knows exactly what happened, and stated that essentially what happened is U.S. Navy divers went down to the pipeline under the guise of a NATO war game, went down there, planted explosives, and then 3 months later, radio waves were used to blow up the pipeline. That way, no one's around. You can't really implicate anyone. Also, Norway helped out somehow, mainly by supplying equipment or know-how. And then, essentially the pipeline blew up and America was able to get away with it. Now, this has been making the rounds around Twitter and the internet like crazy. There are a lot of people who are like, this is the smoking gun to prove that America caused this war and why we need to have an anti-war rally to speak out against this.
No, it doesn't. Radio waves, put a tinfoil hat on and tell me that. No, what? This isn't our style, first and foremost. This isn't our MO. I mean, just from a purely screenwriter point of view, it's no, this is to wait 3 months. Why? No.
Look, it's all about the complexity. You make it so complex that no one can figure out how they're doing it.
Makes me so mad.
I mean, I will say,
so mad.
There are a couple issues with this story. First of all, there's Seymour Kirsch himself. Seymour has a couple issues that make his story a little less credible. In his early career, he was an extraordinarily respected journalist. He's the whole reason we know about Abu Ghraib and the assaults and abuses that were going on there. In 1970, he won the Pulitzer Prize for reporting on the My Lai massacre during the Vietnam War, which is probably one of the most harrowing events.
Yeah, and I thought his name was familiar. Okay.
Yeah. So he is, in fact, a very highly respected journalist up until 2013. And so around that time, his stories start to get a little conspiratory and harder for him to prove. Around that time, he released an article stating that the Osama bin Laden SEAL Team 6 event was completely fabricated. Not so much that Osama bin Laden was killed, because we have that on tape. You can watch it. But the
Which is
story
a
of like his
wholly different discussion,
yeah,
like whether or not you should. But yeah, anyway.
but like the story of his death, he was claiming was made up. How this heroic story of SEAL Team 6 and all these ways that they were able to hunt him down and find him and kill him and then dump his body at sea. And I will say, if it's a story they invented, it's probably not good to have it start with, well, we fucked up one of our helicopters and left it behind. We kind of started by fucking up, but then we eventually got him.
Yeah, but we tripped back into.
Yeah, but it's part of the problem though was his sourcing on that was anonymous. And typically when you have an anonymous source, you can at least give it to your editor to say you can look into it, but please don't release this name, and they won't.
Yeah, it's like deep backstory or whatever they call it.
Around 2013, Seymour quit giving the names of his anonymous sources and was more so relying on his own name to be able to push these stories forward.
Oh no. So he had to go to Substack.
Right. So amongst other stories that he wrote is he claimed that Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad never used chemical weapons on his own people. He pushed the Seth Rich conspiracy for his own personal gain.
Ooh.
Yeah, so apparently he called a guy and said, I have a source that's claiming they know that Seth Rich sent all of these Hillary Clinton emails to WikiLeaks, and I want more information. The guy's like, I don't have any more information. And Seymour Hersh would say, yeah, I was using that to try to get more information from the guy, but the phone call ends up becoming a huge part of the Seth Rich conspiracy theory of Seymour Hersh having this evidence. He claimed that he doesn't think that Osama bin Laden actually planned 9/11.
Oh boy.
And he's questioned accounts of verified Russian poisoning on political enemies.
Oh no.
Yeah, so Sai's kind of fallen off the deep end a bit in regards to that. And so looking at Seymour's story about the Nord Stream pipeline, it has the hallmarks of his later work, of the entire thing being relied upon by one extraordinarily knowledgeable and detailed anonymous source that he is not willing to tell anyone.
It turns out to be Snapple caps.
Oh my God, I didn't know Snapple was still doing that. That's a big Oh my God, collect them all to find out who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline.
Yeah, exactly.
And so Snopes looked at his work and concluded that his single source had to be, quote, knowledgeable about internal CIA, State Department, and deep sea diver politics, in addition to specific deliberations held by a secret interagency panel. So this alone would make it fairly easy to pin down who his source is. To have all of this knowledge, you could at least summarize it down to a few folks and then go from there. But it also shows how highly unlikely his source would be to contain all of that information, especially if no one is able to suss out who it's based on all of that intricate knowledge. But his article has done very well in Russia.
There it is.
Yeah. So I would like to note that with the Nord Stream pipeline, the other thing that everyone can agree on is Russia didn't do it. The Washington Post stated in December that through their sources, there are very few American State Department officials who believe that this was sabotaged by the Russians.
Okay. I mean, my gut would be that it would be them, but that makes sense too. That, like, I mean, that's their monetary bread and butter for the country.
It is a lot of fucking money in those tubes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it clearly hasn't really made much of a difference in regards to that thing blowing up. So it makes perfect sense that Russia wouldn't do it. So currently, as of right now, the top potentials: America, Ukraine, the United Kingdom, and Poland.
Ooh.
Yeah, Poland, I think that is the one I would put the interesting money on Poland.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. One, because like I want Poland to have some game, like I want them to fuck shit up. And I can totally see them like looking around and being like, you know what? This would be a great time to just stick it to them.
I mean, it would be a great time to introduce some international fuckery.
Yeah.
To make things fun, there was a Polish politician who, after the Nord Stream pipeline blew up, tweeted, "Thanks, America."
Oh, yikes. Now I believe it even more.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, they do actually probably have one of the better reasons, because Russia kind of has made a lot of talks about how they need to go into Poland and denazify it.
Yeah, and it's like the current Polish government isn't that great. I mean, they have a little bit of a Trump figure right now, but it's still not like I get the sense from that country that it's like if you are even slightly like warm to Putin, you're not going to last in office very long. down. So yeah, don't fuck with them. Don't fuck with Poland.
Right. So it's like there a thing I hate about this is like I'd like to know who did it. And all
Right.
Seymour Hersh is doing is shutting down a load of interest for a lot of people, assuming that this is 100% right, when by all intents and purposes, it sounds like he made it up.
Yeah.
He got a good story, or he got one anonymous source who wrote a good story and he just went with it.
Yeah.
The other reason that he had to publish it on Substack is since he wouldn't give up his anonymous source to any of the major outlets, no one would publish it. So he had to publish it himself.
Which is good for those organizations. But yeah, but then of course is like Substack is just like, hey, if you've got a name, you can make a living.
Right. So at most, it is clear that the American government has endorsed the revolution in 2014. But to connect all of this to the United States being responsible for instigating a 2014 revolution is a fucking reach. And it's a bad start in your list of demands for an anti-war rally.
It really is.
Now, in regards to peace, to being able to immediately stop and negotiate for peace, all I have to say is, do you think that hasn't been happening this entire fucking time? You can go into Wikipedia and there are pages of all the times everyone has tried to come together and sue for peace. And there's a reason it's not happening yet. The main dead end point you can look at is from September of 2022. In that month, Russia held a referendum in the 4 territories that they currently occupied in Ukraine and had civilians vote on whether or not they should be annexed into Russia. So it's definitely not a vote under perfectly unbiased situation.
It's a little like, hey, gun to your head. Which would you choose? Ignore the gun to your head and just vote democratically.
Hey, look, I know the Russian army is here, and I know that the majority of people who stayed behind are Russian-speaking Ukrainians, and most of your neighbors have already become refugees in the west of the country or in Eastern Europe. But for funsies, you want to join Russia?
What's survivor bias?
You're right. So I don't think anyone would be very shocked to find that in, I'm going to mispronounce most of these, Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia. There's a lot of Z's and H's. In these particular Eastern Oblasts, people there voted to join Russia by 99%, 98%, 87%, and 93%. So
it's like, will the shelling stop? Great. Then yes.
So prior to all of this, there were polls run in these oblasts to see, hey, do you guys want to join Ukraine? Prior to the war, the highest that any vote to join Russia got was 30%. So a little questionable. But Russia has stated that unless Ukraine agrees to cede these oblasts to their country, peace negotiations can never start. And Ukraine has also said that peace talks can't start unless Russia agrees to submit to the World Court for war crimes.
Yeah.
As of last month, it has officially been stated there is no path forward to sue for peace in any regard. So I don't know exactly what plan this rally has to force these two nations to sit down when both of their starting points and their non-negotiables are completely impossible.
They're slightly in bad faith, right? Like the I feel like Ukraine absolutely has like the right for its demands, and also Russia is trying to win by attrition by just gaining up more oblasts. And it's like, that's not going to stop it, you guys.
Yeah, and things have been at a bit of a stalemate for the past few months, but I mean, it's Ukraine's kind of winning, so I don't know why they would want to sue for peace. And Russia's ultimate goal is to have the whole country, so I don't know why they would sue for peace. It's just a bizarre request that I don't see either country really being able to go forward and negotiate into a peace. So yeah, it's not great. As for America spending money on the war, yeah, it's been a lot of money. In total, the states have spent a total of $29.3 billion over the last year, or about 35% of the whole budget for every nation coming together to support Ukraine in this. However, when you look at it with America's actual budget for the year in 2022, it's half of 1%. It's pretty much no money for us. It might have been earmarked in the military budget anyway, so it's not. It's money that's already spent. But I would say, from a libertarian point of view, assuming that we're working from just pure libertarianism without any outside influence, yeah, that's the argument you would make. That's a lot of money. We shouldn't be spending it. Argument done.
I mean, with the libertarians, like that's a whole other deal. I feel like with my like genuinely progressive and I would say like far left to an obnoxious standpoint friends, like I get where they're coming from on this stance of just like, we're like, kids are going without school books and we're really going to send all this money to Ukraine. And to that point, it's like, I recognize that like I have some personal investment in the war in Ukraine, having married into a Polish family. And secondly, the fact that, like, as you said, it is a drop in the bucket, and it's like eyes, if that's the argument, then eyes on the prize, which is the like multi-trillion-dollar budget that we constantly give to the military. No questions asked. Like the Ukraine aid is quarters in the seat cushion comparatively.
And it's a weird situation, because I can definitely understand, like, if you're purely anti-war, I get not wanting to send money to support war. On the other hand, I can also see, like, no one wants to be Neville Chamberlain in this situation. No one wants to be like, telling Hitler, all right, Czechoslovakia, but nothing else. Or then like, all right, Sudetenland, but nothing else.
It's the idea that's like, you actually need to do a little bit of research. And it's like, are we going to be like positively impacting this? In terms of like Syria, it's like, we can just wash our hands and walk away, because we're not going to be the same like Clinton era policymakers who just go into the Balkans willy-nilly, or Somalia. But at the same time, guess what? Russia's still going to be funding Assad and the leaders in Syria. So are you really going to fuck them over like that? Like, this is what we're working with. It sucks, but like, maybe balance it a bit.
Yeah, it really goes back to the whole, starting the imperialism of the early 1900s of just like, all right, we're going to send a giant navy around the world to show everyone who's boss. Maybe that was a bad idea. Maybe, Ireland's maybe got it right that keeping to your own's not the worst idea.
It's like, not to get too, we didn't start the fire, but
it's a weird thing to be like, okay, now's the line where we're going to stop doing wars. Especially when we're already involved in a bunch of other wars that this rally doesn't really seem to give a shit about.
Which is another point of consternation of just like, okay, where was this during Syria? And actually, I kind of know, because I know some people who were like very anti-involvement in Syria because we would always just seem to end up in these little skirmishes. But the fact of the matter is, they're not little skirmishes.
They're proxy wars, essentially. It's just like a continuation of the Cold War, where like, we can't fight you, but we can make other people fight you.
But we can start a whole other subset of refugees. Let's go!
Europe. But hey, let's look at the other demands. Maybe they even out, and they're like really well-themed anti-war stuff. Number 3, stop the war inflation, which is the idea that we're spending all this money on war and it's causing the price of everything to go up.
That was the avian flu that just kind of decimated the hen population.
Amongst so much.
Yes.
4, disband NATO.
No. That's dumb. No.
I think it's definitely the argument. Well, it's the outside argument that the whole reason Russia invaded Ukraine was because of NATO interference of expanding into other countries. But Craig Bowden made the argument that it's like, that really doesn't work, because if you're worried about NATO countries being on your border, why aren't you invading Finland right now?
Yeah.
Global nuclear de-escalation. I could poke that.
Absolutely. No, that is great. Yes, that's probably why the Green Party signed on. Totally.
We haven't used them since 45. It's expired. Set them away.
Yeah. Shoot them towards the sun.
They did it. They blew up the moon. Slash the Pentagon budget.
100%.
Abolish the CIA and the military industrial deep state.
You're gonna, please be specific. Cite your sources. What is this nonsense?
We could start with the CIA. That's all right.
Fine.
We'll take a look here, but we're gonna start talking deep state. You've kind of made me perk up my ears a little too much about what you're going to cut.
Kind of undercut anything of value coming before it.
You could have replaced that with complex. You could have replaced that with literally any other Eisenhower statement. I'd be like, fine, great.
Yeah, great, good. But no, deep state.
Abolish war and empire.
Oh, give me a fucking break. Oh, you mean the thing I wish for every birthday? Get real.
We're going to stop the thing that people have been doing since we learned hate. I mean, if you have a plan for it, great, but...
But you don't have a plan, because otherwise you would have said something a little bit more nuanced.
Do you know a genie? Restore civil liberties. And free Julian Assange.
No, he's a dick.
I mean, he is an asshole. I will say that. I know so little about his case, though I have no room to really talk about it. Aside, all I know about him is he is an absolute ass to the Ecuadorian embassy in London.
He's the worst roommate
Yeah, he
ever.
sounds like a fucking
Ever.
dick. Also, I remember going onto Wikipedia in the early days, just to check out what it was all about. And one of the top articles you could read was a letter from a pedophile explaining why children liked being in pornography. Yep, WikiLeaks.
What?
Yup, they publish everything. So
No.
yeah, this is why you need to have editorial standards.
Yes.
So look, man, whatever. I know so little about it, but I also could care less at times. Like I have more skin in the game on like Reality Winner or Chelsea Manning or
Yes.
Edward Snowden having the ability to live their lives than I do Julian Assange. So
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm standing.
so Una, with the above info you have so far,
Yes.
does this sound like an anti-war rally, and would you attend it?
Ironically, maybe or not, this sounds like a tax write-off for someone.
Damn, are you Craig Bowden?
Yeah.
Or Bowden? Fuck, I'm sorry I'm messing up your name, Craig. Yeah, it's a bit fucky. So strap in.
You know what it is? It sounds like a recipe for you take like 5 to 7 Oberlin students who went down to that military school every year to protest. If you took them and then you just like boiled them for several hours until it was like really concentrated
Jesus.
and just spread it on toast.
That's a horrible image. So as of Tuesday the 14th, which is today, the rally has 22 sponsors and 27 speakers. The sponsors are mostly just like anti-war orgs for the most part. There is a couple of businesses as well. There's the t-shirt company that's doing all the merch for them, Theo and Sons. They're a silver level sponsor. There's gold, which means you give them $5,000. Silver's $1,000. Bronze is $500. So technically we could become a sponsor if we really wanted to.
Oh my God.
I don't, but so Theo and Sons is making them the shirts. Theo and Sons has also made a lot of pro cop and pro correctional officer shirts that you can buy off their website. So not great.
Yeah, I need me a thin blue line t-shirt.
There is Peace Hawk Coffee, which is a coffee company from Cascade Locks, Oregon. They're in the bronze tier. I don't know how much I trust that they're a real company. During the pandemic, I've bought a lot of coffee from companies online and just trying shit out. Their website is questionable. They only offer 3 options. There you can get Ethiopian, Honduras, or an Ethiopia Yemeni blend. The company is only 2 months old, and there's no mention of who's running it, what their story is, and their main website to buy stuff it's just shady as fuck.
Yikes.
So I don't quite believe they're real. But if they are, I apologize. But then there's actually my favorite gold tier company called Food Forest Abundance. They're kind of like, Ron Swanson libertarian ideals mixed with green ecological stuff. The whole thing is they will build a self-sustaining little miniature farm on your property that's composed of like trees, herbs, if you put in the extra money, chickens and a chicken coop and things like that.
Cute.
It looks like they do really good work. It's probably pretty expensive, but it looks amazing. But yeah, it's all about just, if shit goes down, you can feed yourself for quite some time.
No, absolutely. I was just like, oh, no pun intended, but this is a seed company for survivalists.
Oh yeah, but they do great work. I can't deny that everything they do looks really, really pretty and is really well thought out.
Cute. Okay.
So yeah, they're one people I can absolutely recommend from this. We're not going to get a lot of these bright spots though. So some of the speakers are very much all about anti-war advocacy and are the sort of people I'd expect to find at pretty much any major anti-war rally. There's Ann Wright, who is a retired Army colonel who resigned from the State Department one day before the start of the Iraq War. Since then, she's mostly worked with Cindy Sheehan and Code Pink during various anti-war events. She's gotten arrested a lot for being an anti-war protester, to the point that she was banned from Canada for a while.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, she got put on a list by the NSA. And so Craig Bowden does make a point with Code Pink that, have you heard of them before?
The name sounds familiar, but I'm not. I'm drawing a bit of a blank on what they do.
So Code Pink's a group run by Medea Benjamin, and they are very anti-war, but seem to have a habit of being anti any war that America's instigating or a part of, but tend to be a lot less hardcore about wars started by other countries, and based on his research tend to be a bit more lenient when it comes to dictators and other sort of countries interested in empire. Yeah, so not great. But yeah, so Ann Wright is very much anti-war, and her bona few days, they're very much there. You have this guy, Dan McKnight. He founded an organization called Bring Our Troops Home. It's one of the few organizations going into this rally that places equal blame on Russia and Ukraine for the war. So I might not 100% agree with that, but it's at least someone who's like, I don't like either.
But yeah, it's like, okay, we're getting closer.
Yeah. And yeah, he's very much just an anti-war guy all around. But the big problem, though, is that looking deeper into his website, it does have a bit of a Trumpist America First version of escapism's not the word, non-intervention or whatever. When a country doesn't wish to get involved in international politics,
neutrality.
Sort of, yeah. It's
yeah,
it's very much of
non-intervention. Yeah,
it's very much we're going to keep to ourselves. And the sort of politicians that he references as being representative of his organization would be Tulsi Gabbard, Rand Paul,
oh no,
Ro Khanna, Tim Kaine, and Matt Gaetz.
Yikes, the company you keep.
But he is anti-war. He is very much anti-war, and I will give him that.
All right.
And then a wild card for you. This dude who goes by the name Supreme, who is an associate with the Wu-Tang Clan, who we all know are nothing to fuck with.
Hey!
So essentially, Supreme was a record producer for them for a number of years. He mostly produced the group Sons of Man, in which he was also a member. And he's done subsequent solo albums for former members of the group who've gone off on their own. I was really nervous about some of his music. One of the songs he produced is called Israeli News. I was expecting that to get real anti-Semitic. It doesn't. It's actually it's fine. Most of the music's fine. It's not as good as Wu-Tang by any stretch, but it's
sure,
it's not bad.
But what is?
And best I could tell is I can't find any political leanings. He doesn't have a Twitter. I can't get on Instagram, but he's spoken at libertarian events in the past, and so I think he's just an anti-war libertarian, and so he seems to just be totally fine. So yeah, that's 3 speakers out of 27. Good enough anti-war. End of episode.
Da, 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 da.
So yeah, I probably should tell you about at least some of the other 24. And I'm just going to start with the 6 biggest names that I can find and see what we can get from there. So the big names we have: former Congresswoman and Green Party nominee Cynthia McKinney, Green Party presidential nominee Jill Stein.
There she is.
Former Congressman and presidential candidate Dennis Kucinich.
Dennis!
Yeah, Dennis has had an interesting history since he left Congress. Did you know he's a Trumpist?
No!
Yeah, he supports Trump 100%. He endorsed Trump.
Kucinich.
Former Congresswoman and presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard.
Well, that goes without saying.
Former Congressman and presidential candidate Ron Paul. And finally, the top billed speaker above all of these people, because he has the most important experience: comedian, podcaster, and potential People's Party presidential nominee, Jimmy Dore.
No!
Yep. Jimothy is the top speaker for this event. So I will ask you, between these 6, what do they all have in common, Una?
Grifting?
In some regards.
Maybe not. Oh, what, Dusty?
They all really like Vladimir Putin.
Oh, there it is.
So Tulsi Gabbard has stated that America is only supporting Ukraine as a means to punish Vladimir Putin and would only result in nuclear war. Dennis Kucinich has worked and still works for Russia Today, which is a state-run media company by Russia.
So he's fully in it.
Ron Paul has accused Ukraine of trying to trick the world into World War III on at least multiple occasions. And Jimmy Dore has made a whole career on parroting Russian talking points on the war, and his biggest of which being that Russia is full of neo-Nazis, and that the only reason this war needs to happen is so Putin can denazify Ukraine.
Yikes.
So like all good conspiracy theories, this does kind of start from a kernel of truth. The founding of the Azov Regiment is a bit hazy, but it was formed by at least 2014. It was founded initially by far-right ultranationalist neo-Nazis as a militia, reacting mostly to Russian influence of the Yanukovych government. So it was during the time post the revolution. After that, there were counter-protests being run by pro-Russian people. Russia had just gone into Crimea, and there was a bit of mini civil war happening in the Donbas region. And so this particular ultranationalist neo-Nazi group decided to form a militia to fight against it. Months later, during the War of the Donbas, Ukraine had suffered so many losses in their official military that they began promoting militias into official units. Azov was assigned to the Special Task Patrol Police by the Ukrainian Interior Ministry and was assigned the task of defending the city of Kharkov. After fighting a series of battles, the regiment was now 500 strong, and by November of 2014 was promoted to the National Guard of Ukraine. So this kind of makes it look like Ukraine is promoting and making a Nazi battalion an official part of the military. And it's this promotion that led Russia to state that Ukraine is run by Nazis, and it's now necessary for them to denazify the country. Extremist experts have been pretty torn on agreeing whether or not the Azov Battalion is still very Nazi-ish. On one hand, you have people saying that they've grown beyond that, and while there's an Azov movement that is very Nazi-friendly, that the Azov regiment is no longer affiliated with Nazism. On the other side, you have outlets such as Bellingcat that state no, they're still very pro-Nazi. They've just gotten better at hiding it and gotten really good at propaganda. So yeah, it's kind of hard to tell.
Sure.
One of the bigger issues is in the lead up to the war, when they were being referred to as a Nazi battalion, they were noted as going out into the countryside and training people for potential war, teaching people how to use basic guns and things like that to defend themselves when no one else was. So that was a bit of a propaganda thing they had. And they're pretty popular on YouTube and LiveLeak for their various videos showing them blowing up Russian tanks and then people not having any idea who the Azov regiment was or used to be, then promoting them throughout. So it's a really shitty sort of thing. That being said, Amnesty International has also accused them of human rights violations as far back as 2016, very much in regards to them violating the human rights of Russian majority people or Russian people living in Ukraine and things like that. But then you have the Center for Civil Liberties, which is a Ukrainian organization, stating that they noted that the Azov regiment hasn't done any anti-Semitic harassment since 2014. So it's hard to tell. I'm definitely a person that it's really hard to change a Nazi, and it's really hard to make a Nazi believe, good things. And it doesn't help the Azov regiment still using Nazi iconography in their coat of arms.
Right.
So it's not great.
Yeah. I want to dismiss it out of hand just because it's becoming a talking point due to the fact that Putin is making sure it's a talking point.
Exactly.
Without pointing to the fact that it's okay, so there are neo-Nazis in Ukraine. That's not enough to invade a sovereign nation.
Yeah.
There are elements of far-right fascism in, I'd say, most, if not all countries in Europe right now.
Yeah.
So why Ukraine then?
Yeah, there's very definitively a neo-Nazi movement in Russia as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are so many points that you could bring up to this to make the argument that the one I see a lot is, what do you call a war protester who sits down with a Nazi? A Nazi. And it's when, it's the whole thing is if you're sitting and talking to a Nazi, you're a Nazi by default. And so if you're working with the Azov regiment, that makes you a Nazi by default. And I see the argument, but also it's the other argument of we lost our military and we were desperate.
Yeah.
And if you could make the argument of, President Zelensky is Jewish and maybe trying to reform the Azov regiment into a non-neo-Nazi organization, which, a lot on your plate, don't know how you're going to do it.
Right.
But there's definitely arguments on both ends, but I don't think the actions of 2,500 men is really going to be indicative of the entire country. But
I agree. And I also wonder if it's the issue of, was there a rise in a surge in neo-Nazi, I don't know, favoritism in this region, leading up to this time, because due to a certain sense of aimlessness and unsureness of your place in your society, which I think is a lot of what happens when young men start to find these radical ideologies in the US and the UK, all over. And there could be something said of just suddenly you absolutely have a goal and a purpose, and it is to now fight Russians, and that gives you it's not an excuse if you found yourself really taking to that bigotry and anti-Semitism of Nazism, but it can also maybe also persuade you away from the more fascist-y elements and get you until you're a little bit mature.
Yeah.
It's figuring the world out.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those just really uncomfortable truths. It's a wild exaggeration to say that Ukraine is a Nazi country and run by Nazis.
In no way would I say that.
Yeah. But it is an absolute fucking reckoning you're going to have at the end of the war as to what you're going to do with these people.
Agreed. Oh, absolutely. And it is that sense of just right now, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
We're in this state, we are all Ukrainians. Let's go.
Well, and I think another uncomfortable truth is that there were anti-Maidan protesters as well, who were very clearly anti-Semitic, who stated that the overthrow of Yanukovych was entirely due to a Jewish-run conspiracy headed up by probably George Soros and things like that. So it's Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot of complexity that fucking sucks.
Yeah. Sorry, we're all shades of gray right now, Jimmy Dore.
Yeah. But still, that's a whole lot of supporting Russia for starting a war for
Yes.
anti-war people.
Yes.
Because
They
yeah,
started it.
right,
Russia
yeah,
started it.
yeah. It's like Russia was not attacked at all in any of this. I mean, Russia took Crimea and then
Mm-hmm.
8 years later said, "I think we're going to try again." Ugh. But then there's the second thing that all six of these people have in common, which is really like two things that get added into one. And it's that all of them are hardcore supporters of Bashar al-Assad.
Oh no.
So the big thing they wanted to talk about in 2013 is that Bashar al-Assad is a really right guy, and he definitely never used chemical weapons against his own people.
Both of those are outright lies. He's not a good person.
Yeah,
He absolutely used chemicals against his own people.
yeah, they had to add that last one due to the Ghouta chemical weapons attack that happened in 2013 that killed between 281 and 1,729 people, depending on who you ask, and injured 3,600 people when a bunch of rockets were aimed at the town of Ghouta and then exploded. Well, they didn't explode because the people who survived said they heard missiles and then didn't hear an explosion, which was very weird because they were full of sarin gas. So Bashar al-Assad had become president in 2000, and within 11 years had made himself a really nice little dictatorship that he could just take care of and love. And it was complete with heavily rigged elections and the assassination of political rivals, both national and international.
Yikes. Yikes.
In 2011, this ends up hitting a breaking point, and the Syrian civil war begins. As civil wars go, Syria is about as complicated as you can get, because it's not one side against the other. You have at least four groups fighting each other in this. You have the al-Assad government, the Syrian interim government, you have the breakaway independent nation of Rojava, and just for fun, let's throw in al-Qaeda as well.
Oh boy.
Oh, and I almost forgot, Turkey's also invading off and on.
Just dipping their toe in.
Yeah, they just really don't like Rojava. So it's a mess. And did you know it's still going on? The Syrian civil war never stopped. America just left in 2017 and we stopped talking about it. But wouldn't you know, the Syrian civil war is not mentioned on the Rage Against the War Machine website.
Boo!
Yeah, America's not a part of it, so that's not imperialism, so we don't care anymore.
Oh, God.
So one of the major bits of evidence that Bashar al-Assad did use chemical weapons against his people is an intercepted phone call that was received between the Ministry of Defense in Syria and the soldiers on the ground, where essentially the Department of Defense was asking, why the fuck did you do that? Explain yourselves. The French government was also able to supply satellite and video imagery to prove the attack and various attempts at a cover-up happened afterwards. The one major nation, though, that didn't agree with this was Russia. Never mind that Russia was also backing Bashar al-Assad, but they called the evidence very flimsy and stated that it didn't prove anything. Because it very much was just this phone call and the French satellite imagery that proved that it happened. So there wasn't any evidence that Bashar al-Assad called for the attack or anything like that. But it also kind of hurts that, not a lot of people survived the attack, and the people who did were heavily injured. So you don't really have a lot of on-the-ground evidence of things occurring. But I would say a phone call from the Department of Defense calling a particular military unit and saying, why the fuck did you do that? And then the military outfit saying, oh, here's why, is enough evidence that it happened.
It's not like he said situation then.
So Russia said the evidence is flimsy. They blamed various rebel groups on having done it, mostly to try to make the Syrian government look bad, and then promised to produce evidence, and never did. Since then, Tulsi Gabbard and Denis Kucinich have visited Syria on quote-unquote fact-finding missions and become staunch allies of al-Assad. Ron Paul called the whole chemical attack a false flag and blamed it on al-Qaeda, and old Jimmy Dore went a step further and claimed the whole civil war was actually started by the Saudi government and the CIA. And his evidence for this was a tweet that has since been deleted that was written by a guy with 11 followers as his evidence.
Oh, this is all so dumb and terrible. Like,
it's pretty fuck awful.
What a choice.
Yeah.
To show your full ass that way.
But I think if we look a little closer, we might find some more ass. Sorry. So we have an anti-war rally where the six biggest names aren't anti-war, so long as it's not a war being led or supported by Vladimir Putin. And aside from Ann Wright, Dan McKnight, and Supreme, every speaker who is there has a direct tie to Russia or Vladimir Putin. There are people like Garland Nixon, Wyatt Reed, and Chris Hedges who work for Russia Today and Sputnik, the two largest Russian news outlets.
No.
There's Max Blumenthal, Anya Potampil, and Dan Cohen, who are all journalists for a website called The Gray Zone that Max started, that have not only supported the Russian right to invade Ukraine, but have also supported Bashar al-Assad, Nicaraguan dictator Daniel Ortega, denied the extent of the Uyghur genocide in China, and received one of the very first Twitter warnings for publishing false information.
But on the other hand, Henry Kissinger thinks very fondly of him.
Oh my God. Boo. Anya also used to work for Russia Today, and articles from the Gray Zone have been republished on the RT website as well.
Yikes. So this is just an elaborate money laundering campaign.
I mean, it's definitely a favor to Russia, if anything.
Yeah.
But faking being anti-war isn't the only thing this rally is about, at least if you're looking at speakers. What if I told you 12 of the speakers also happen to be anti-vax or complete COVID conspiracy theorists?
You don't say. It's almost like the Venn diagram is a complete circle.
I mean, if I had to pick one of the speakers who's the best representative of this topic, that would probably be a guy going by Craig Pasta Jardula. His nickname is Pasta.
Hey.
His Twitter is Yo Pasta.
Yo Pasta. I'm just your friendly pro-Russian anti-vaxxer. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm pasta-rific.
Oh, and the man has diversified his interests. Recently, he's been very keen on election trutherism. So elections, according to Pasta, have been rigged in Arizona since at least 2020.
All right.
He's pretty much called every American election since then rigged.
Of course. I mean, if you go back further, then you hit the Bush era, and no one wants to do that.
He also seems to be a chemtrails conspiracy theorist, but I'm basing this off a picture that he took of a chemtrail and just with the line "beautiful morning in Las Vegas." Okay. So normally I pass this off, but the chemtrail's front and center. So I kind of just made an assumption on that.
Either way, Pasta's hitting the full bingo is what we're getting at.
You have to diversify your interests. Otherwise, you end up losing your power. People are less interested. Eventually, people move on.
Mm-hmm. You gotta stay one step ahead.
But he has been railing hard on COVID in general. His other greatest hits include stating ivermectin works because it worked for him, and that's all the evidence that he needs.
Of course.
Stating that all other evidence that ivermectin doesn't work is because the mainstream media and CDC are not to be trusted. Accusing the CDC of data manipulation. So his argument for this is back in 2021, where they would state that you're unvaccinated in the early days because if you got your first vaccination but not your second, you're still unvaccinated, because there's during that time you have to get two to get fully unvaccinated. The Johnson bullshit hadn't come out yet. So he said that was data manipulation, saying that people were unvaccinated.
Sure, Pasta. Also, if you get syphilis and you start your penicillin treatment, but you don't finish your penicillin treatment, you still have syphilis.
You still get a really cool silver nose out of it, though.
Oh, no.
He stated an interest that new COVID variants seem to show up just in time for the midterm elections, before winter. Also, he's talking about the Omicron variant, just like a different version of it. So it's not even a new variant. It's just like a sub-variant or a slight change. He stated that anti-symptomatic COVID is both extremely rare and impossible to transmit to other people, which is not true at all.
Yeah, try it on your Nana then, Pasta.
And the old classic, the vaccine causes myocarditis, blood clots, stroke, and neurological issues. Yeah, no one's been able to prove that aside from some people who are not good at acting online, who love to do little miniature shakes but haven't done the research to really find out what a neurological tremor is.
Oh boy.
Yeah, my new favorite one is someone's having tremors while they're driving. And it literally just looks like their shocks are broke.
My mind immediately went to, it's like, what, you stopped drinking for 5 hours?
Right. Yeah. Is this delirium tremens or like what's happening here?
What else is in your life?
Yeah. So Craig's not exactly a valuable resource. No. He's repeatedly tried to fight people into COVID arguments, but he's followed by so few and gets so little interaction that it's never happened. But you know what? Maybe COVID isn't quite a woke enough issue for you. Maybe you want something a little more topical so you can get on the ground floor of the most popular potential oncoming genocide. Well, it turns out transphobia is also big amongst 8 of the speakers, including Jardula. And Jardula's transphobia was shown due to a tweet that he shared by fellow speaker Daniel McAdams. Dan is the executive director of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity.
Oh, the irony.
I did not feel like reading it. I'll just say it's very pro-Russia, and at one point they kind of float that Donald Trump is the one peace candidate in 2024.
Sure, I think that's a healthy bet.
And oh shit, Dennis Kucinich is on their advisory board. He is right next to Lou Rockwell, who founded the League of the South.
No.
Yep.
God, this is just a LinkedIn of terribleness.
Dennis has taken a fucking turn, and it is fucking awful. But I should read McAdams' tweet. So a little bit of a trigger warning on this. Skip ahead 30 seconds. There aren't any slurs or anything like that, but it really, really sucks. So starting now, skip ahead like a minute or 30 seconds. Quote, do you want your kids to be forced to go to drag queen shows with perverts? Or do you want to live in a country where it's illegal for adults to sexually attack your children? I'm with Russia. 100%. Let the libertarians lose their shit over this. I'm with Putin.
Wow.
Yeah. So not great. And trans and homophobia have been a consistent issue with Jimmy Dore, Ron Paul, and Tulsi Gabbard as well. With Tulsi, she grew up in a cult. I don't know if that's so much a known thing. It's a sort of pseudo-Hindu cult that was started by a white guy with a fake name. That his whole thing was just like trans and homophobia full out. Tulsi worked on a multitude of anti-LGBTQ issues before she was elected to Congress, and since she has left Congress, she is right back on that train.
Wow. So okay, Tulsi needs some therapy.
Yeah, Tulsi is not a good person by any stretch. But that's not the only issue with McAdams. Up until last week, the rally was going to feature a speech from a former weapons inspector turned anti-war activist Scott Ritter. One of the big things you might know Scott Ritter for is he was one of the biggest voices coming out that Colin Powell was lying about WMDs in Iraq, and using most of his personal experience to state why he was wrong. That was at least why he was mostly known up until around 2003. Because in 2001, Scott was spending his evening chatting in the chat rooms on the World Wide Web.
Hey.
The thing, though, is he wasn't there to talk about Fear Factor or popped collars. He was there to hook up with a 16-year-old girl.
Oh, no.
Now, Una, there are many rules of the internet. Rule 34, if it exists, there's porn about it.
Yep.
But my personal favorite is, oh, you're a girl between 13 and 17? You're a cop. That's a cop you're talking to.
Yeah. Or John Mulaney. Just catfish and perverts.
Look, that was a really fun thing to do when you were underage back in the day. But yeah, so he ends up setting up a sexual rendezvous with the 16-year-old, goes there, gets arrested, and is charged with attempted endangerment of the welfare of a child. However, the charges end up getting dropped, but the charges would be made public in 2003, and Ritter uses an opportunity to say, well, this was released by the Bush administration to discredit me about WMDs.
Sir, both things can be true at once.
You can be right and a pervert.
Yeah, you can be right about WMDs and also still, unfortunately, try to chat up 16-year-olds online.
But let's just fast forward to 2009. Just hop in the time machine here and go right.
Let's go. Yeah.
Having learned his lesson, Scott was spending his evening chatting in a chat room on the internets with a Z because it's 2009.
Right.
But instead,
he was chatting on his Motorola Razr.
But instead of talking about hoop earrings or the Black Eyed Peas, Scott was trying to hook up not with a 16-year-old girl. No. Lessons were learned. This time he's trying his luck with a 15-year-old girl.
Oh, boy.
But as is internet law, he was talking to a cop. This time, because webcam technology had improved, he ends up exposing himself on camera right before setting up a time to go meet up.
Oh, no.
He would meet up, get arrested, and was charged with, let me get all these right, unlawful contact with a minor, criminal use of a communications facility, corruption of minors, indecent exposure, possessing instruments of crime, criminal attempt, and criminal solicitation. Now, Scott, his argument with this would be, well, the chat room said 18 plus, so I assumed the person I was talking to was an adult who was role-playing. Which I will tell you, Scott, court precedent has already been set in that regard, and you're fucked. You're very fucked. Also, there's a really easy way around that. You ask, hey, you're actually 18 though, right? And if the answer is yes, then you go to like whatever sort of role play you wish to do. You don't start off, oh, you're 15? Neato. Let's meet up. Here's my dick.
Yeah, it's can you take a picture of your license? Also,
Yes.
what is your safe word?
Can you rent a car?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you
Can
legally get a hotel room? Who did
Can you rent a
vote
car,
for?
but it costs more? How much more?
Boo. Boo. So this time he would go to court and be found guilty on all counts except for one. He'd spend a year and a half in prison before being released on probation. And I gotta add, this is all very easy to find information. So if you're, say, putting together a rally or a conference, you put in his name and it's one of the first things that comes up. It's on his Wikipedia page. It's easy to find. But there are a number of people who say, people at this rally who say that Scott Ritter was set up twice by the CIA.
No, it's set me up once. Shame on me. Shame on you. Set me up twice. Shame on me.
Ruler can't get fooled again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's if you're caught doing this twice, that's kind of establishing a pattern. Like you might have gotten away with, George W. Bush is setting me up in 2003, but you do this shit twice, you're not allowed to have a computer, Scott.
It's the old adage about like people who get, I should say white people, who get pulled over for drunk driving. It's like, if you're actually getting pulled over, chances are it's like you're drunk driving many, many times. There's a ratio here. So I'm going to guess Scott got caught twice.
Yeah.
Who knows how many times he just had some fun role play chats with a 14-year-old on the internets.
Yeah, it's not great. So when Twitter started hounding Rage Against the War Machine to maybe disinvite Scott Ritter, it took a bit of work, but eventually Ritter did back out. According to Craig Bowden, though, there had been an internal push, especially within the Libertarian Party, to remove Ritter, but the chairwoman of the party, Angela McArdle, stated that it was believed that if they kicked out Ritter, every other speaker except 3 would also leave.
But that says more about the people you're inviting,
yeah.
right?
Well, Angela, then, I wasn't going to go into a lot of the backstory on this. Craig does an amazing job because he has some really good content. Craig used to be a member of the Libertarian Party, and he has some contacts that are still there who can get a lot of these internal memos and meetings.
Oh, damn.
So essentially, Angela stated she wasn't in charge of choosing who the speakers are and placed all the blame on Ritter being there on the People's Party, which, knowing Nick Brana, that doesn't surprise me.
I do like the idea of like 2 political parties joining forces to do something like this because it does, like, you always have an out. It's like, well, I didn't choose the reform pedophile priest as our main speaker. That was the other party, and the other party can be like, I didn't pick him.
Look at my heads, they're free market tied.
Yeah. Oh.
So Ritter does eventually agree that he's going to back out. There's too much heat. And he announced this via his website entitled The Greatest Speech I Never Gave, where he said, I'm dropping out. Here's the speech I was going to give if I was allowed to speak.
Oh, you're so oppressed, Scott.
But just for fun, Ritter did have a prior tweet that made his inclusion to the anti-war rally really, really odd. Quote, I don't claim to be anti-war. Never did. There are rabid dogs. Yeah. This is while he was still a speaker in the rally.
You didn't fire me, I quit.
There are rabid dogs out there, and we need Atticus Finch to shoot them. I do, however, object to the senseless shooting of healthy dogs. Ukraine is a rabid dog. Russia is Atticus Finch. Thus ends my lesson.
No. Wow. Yep. What an abusively poor metaphor to use to make a terrible point.
What a great speaker for an anti-war rally.
Yeah, truly. We need to shoot this dog. I'm anti-war.
Never said he was anti-war. Never did. But you know what? Ritter's going to be fine. He's been invited to multiple anti-war rallies, and he's still getting invited on the podcast to talk about shit, things like that. And, one very interesting person who invited Scott Ritter is a dude named Gerald Celente. Gerald is actually going to be a speaker at the rally, and he was the founder of a group called Occupy Peace and Freedom, but made his name as a trends projector for business and politicians. He's one of the multi-millions of dudes who wrote a book in 2000 predicting what the next 2 decades were going to be like, things like that, but he's made that more of his career. He's also published a regular magazine on trends as well, and based on the podcast Knowledge Fight, he also has a bit of a history of going back to his website and editing after events happen to make it look like he's better at predicting things than he actually is.
Oh, amazing. He does his own little Wikipedia type cleanup.
Yeah. But I just realized I've kind of fucked up because I've mentioned the podcast Knowledge Fight, which is all about following Alex Jones and everything he does. And this is because Gerald Celente has been a regular guest on InfoWars for a number of years.
Yikes.
So Gerald's whole thing is he kind of gives credibility to InfoWars because he's such a trend predictor and things like that. He's a Nostradamus of the world. And so Alex Jones can say his crazy shit, and Gerald can figure out ways to verify it and make these predictions plausible.
This is so scammy. I feel like I'm watching just bad tarot card work being done.
Pretty much. Gerald's big thing is in 2009, he was in one of Alex Jones's documentaries entitled The Obama Deception, where Alex Jones made the argument that Barack Obama literally came out of nowhere and was pushed ahead into leadership due to a shadowy group of background individuals supporting the New World Order, which is, globalists, George Soros, all that Alex Jones goodness.
I forget how far back Alex Jones goes.
Oh yeah, he goes back to at least 2003, if not further back.
That's a yikes.
Yeah, back when he was on Austin Public Access TV in his 20s.
In terms of what he's saying about Obama, I constantly imagine Obama as Venus on the Half Shell by Botticelli, but that's more an act of eroticism towards our former president.
Yeah, I mean, that would be an interesting way to enter a debate. But yeah, it was essentially a movie that ignored, no, he's been a state senator. He's been in Congress. He's not coming out of nowhere. He's built a career. Whether you agree with him or not, he has existed before. But Gerald Celente's there to essentially agree with Alex Jones in every turn. The funny thing about the documentary, too, is that Jones is constantly complaining about Obama's performance as a president, despite the fact that the documentary was made before Barack Obama was even made president and came out about 2 months after Obama was inaugurated.
Ooh, there's the conspiracy. It's just bitching about the economy ending. And I feel like they do the same thing constantly right now with Biden, where it's just inflation, it's you're the response to COVID is you mean the thing that started before the election even got underway?
Yeah. My God, yeah. So folks with ties to InfoWars is actually a completely another category we have to talk about the speakers who are going to be at this rally. 8 of them have either been guests on his show or have stood up for Alex Jones at multiple times during their career. So Ron Paul has been Alex Jones's presidential elector of choice for a number of years. He actually switched from Ron Paul to Donald Trump back in 2016. Speakers Cynthia McKinney and Tatiana Moros have both been guests on his show. Oh, and lucky for us, Angela McArdle, who you might remember is the chairwoman of the Libertarian Party, was a guest on his show yesterday.
Because his show is still going on, even though he owes billions to the parents of Sandy Hook. Yeah,
well, once again, I'm kind of stealing this from Knowledge Fight. He has now shifted from, InfoWars is quote-unquote still going on. He's eventually going to lay everyone off from there. And now he's just doing the Alex Jones podcast from his home, and it's separate from that business. So, yeah. But yeah, I was talking to some people, and it's just 2023, great year to look at Alex Jones and say to yourself, now's when I'm going to talk to this guy.
I'm going to hitch my wagon to that horse.
It's great. So there is a last category to hit since we're running pretty tight on time, but I kind of want to give a quick rundown of at least some personal conspiracy theories of some of the speakers. Not something that all of them agree with, but I thought was interesting enough to get a dishonorable mention. Cynthia McKinney, who you might remember as a former congresswoman turned Green Party presidential nominee, believes that 9/11 is a Jewish conspiracy and is a Holocaust revisionist, which means she agrees that people died during the Holocaust, but it wasn't anywhere near the number that people are saying. Dan Cohen has been sort of vision boarding America invading Haiti for the past year.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, Dan.
And it's not because he believes America should do it. I think he just really wants to have the credibility of being the first person to say that it was going to happen. According to some people, he's also been boosting a number of like criminal masterminds in the area, sort of like really evil and awful people as like, oh, these are people you should respect, and they're the people who are truly going to help Haiti when they're actually just murdering people and killing folks.
And this guy's going to the anti-war rally. I
Yeah,
just want to be perfectly clear.
yeah, he's writing for the Gray Zone and going to the anti-war rally. I don't see what your problem is.
Okay.
And finally, we have musician Jordan Page, who past listeners might remember as the closing musical act of the movie Alongside Night. He is the most recent person to get announced. He and Tatiana Moroz are both, it seems like, going to be musical guests for the rally. But the thing about Jordan Page that is so interesting is he doesn't so much have conspiracies as he has direct ties and praise for the sedition-loving Oath Keepers.
Yikes.
Yeah, he's performed multitudes of times wearing an Oath Keeper's hat and stated many times in the past how much he respects them.
God, this is truly eye-opening to have like the variety of terribleness that exists in our country right now.
It's almost impressive that they got all these people together.
Like I wish our environment could remain this diverse.
God damn it. Yeah. Like I'll take 15 salamanders, 15 different salamanders that are hard to find over this. Which brings us to our final category. And for that, I have to talk very briefly about a woman named Diane Sayre, who's going to be a speaker. She's a classically trained musician who found herself drawn to politics and has run for office 4 times. Twice for Congress in New Jersey, once for Senate New Jersey, and once for Senate New York in 2020. All of her races have been varying levels of extremely unsuccessful. And a lot of that is probably due to a lifelong political affiliation that she made in 1988. That was the year that she joined the cult of Lyndon LaRouche.
Oh no, that LaRouchian.
LaRouche did die in 2019, and I am very thankful for that. But his legacy continues on thanks to the work of his second wife, Helga Zepp LaRouche, and the Schiller Institute. The org has mostly stayed under the radar since Lyndon's death, but the midterms kind of really jump-started a lot of LaRoucheism. The one that most people probably know about is during the midterms, a number of LaRoucheites went to a town hall run by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and they yelled at her for supporting sending money to the Ukraine. A lot of people shared this on Twitter, thinking it was just like, a bunch of leftists protesting AOC for not, being progressive enough. But in actuality, it was a pair of LaRoucheites being there, doing what LaRoucheites have done for decades, heckling people who are progressive for not being a specific type of LaRoucheite. And yeah, so it was shared a lot across the internet and more than likely gained at least a couple followers amongst the LaRouche crowd. As for the Schiller Institute, they've been involved in boosting the rally pretty heavily. Helga released a YouTube video last week endorsing the movement and hosted Angela McArdle and Nick Branya at the most recent conference. Past conference attendees, who are also speakers, also include Garland Nixon and Scott Ritter.
Yeah.
But potentially their biggest guest is a guy who the Schiller Institute had on for their Green Energy is Actually Ecofascism conference, a dude by the name of Jackson Hinkle. Now, if you don't know who Jackson Hinkle is, I'm sorry to ruin your life.
No, this episode has already been a lot. Just lay it on me. Just one more stone.
So Jackson is a dude from Orange County who in his late teens, early 20s was like a Twitter famous communist. He was like, a young kid who was super progressive, was into all these things, was really big in the Medicare for All movement, just kind of, a big deal online. But when Medicare for All kind of fell through, and to my assumption, once he started to realize that the far left really isn't the moneymaker that one would assume it is, he took an extremely, extremely hard right. He seems to be trying to fill an Andrew Tate-shaped hole that the internet's kind of left, using a mix of misogyny, transphobia, and a really big fandom of Manifest Destiny, and self-dubbed the term MAGA communism.
Ew.
Yeah, which, looking back into the archives, mega communism is just a rebranding of LaRouche talking points. That's all it fucking is. Jackson is so divisive and so disliked that his own parents have yelled at him on the internet for things that he has said.
Oh, that's incredible. That I love. I love it when family members are like, this dickhole, I got it. This is still my family, unfortunately.
Yeah, in one regard, Jackson made a tweet along the lines of, when I was young, my parents told me Santa Claus was real and that he brought all these presents, but really, or something along those lines, and attributing it to like socialism and how you're given everything and how that's actually not how things work. The top reply was from his dad that said, Jackson, I was Santa and I bought those gifts. It's so if you're talking about how capitalism is the great thing, yeah, capitalism bought you those gifts. I didn't tell you any of that when you were a kid. You're making shit up.
Right. And you were 5. This is what we do culturally, idiot.
Yeah, I'm sorry, culturally, we decide to lie to children with a fun story. Sorry. So there have been at least a couple of times his dad has been like, Jackson, why are you doing this?
Amazing.
But yeah, he's pretty much just become this firebrand where he's constantly, like, I'm working out right now and there's no leftists who could actually fight me. Or my personal favorite. Sorry, I have so many favorites. There's one where he went back to USC to go study classes. And there's a picture of him writing in a blank pad of paper where he says, this is a picture of me after returning back to USC to further my education. I was kicked out of this class for saying Zelensky's a coke addict. And he was like, there's a trans student who started crying and, someone from Ukraine that said I was a horrible person. And it's one of those things where people were just like, that's probably not, you were probably in the wrong class then. Like, what class could you be in where you would be prompted to say Zelensky's a coke addict? And so it's like, yeah, I'm sorry you got kicked out of French 101, my dude. But yeah, so that's, big get to get him to talk. He's going to say a lot of bullshit, but he has been sidling up to Helga and the Schiller Institute and a lot of LaRouche ideology recently. So not to mention that the LA sister rally that's going on is being run by LaRoucheites from the top to bottom.
Wow. Yikes. Yeah, wait a second. Hold on. I'm sure you said this at the top of the episode, but where is the anti-war, the Rage Against the War
It's
machine?
being held at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C.
Of course it is.
Well, I mean, you don't get charged to rent it unless you need to get cops there. It's a free thing to rent as long as it's a First Amendment issue. So a lot of people use it. We have a little time. I'll bring this up. There have been questions about where the money's going for this.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, they've raised about $55,000 so far. So people
$55,000 too much.
So a lot of libertarians are like, hey, we really like money transparency. So why don't you tell us where you've been spending this money? So far, $35,000 has been spent solely on the staging and the lighting for the event.
Okay.
However, when you look at the invoice, all it says is Rage Against the War Machine event, $35,000, and that the rental is for 1 week. It's not itemized in any fucking regard.
Oh, no.
As someone who's worked in the theater before,
yeah,
there is no stage, lighting, or sound company worth their fucking salt that isn't going to list everything that you're renting from them, because they're going to want to check off everything they get back. Down to the fucking gaff tape. They're going to want to make sure they get their shit back.
Yep, down to the screw.
So there's questions about the money, and there's questions about whether or not Nick Brania is going to be getting the money, because, fresh reminder, the accountant of the Movement for a People's Party is Nick's dad, who has no experience in accounting.
No.
Decent experience in architecture, but none in accounting.
That's right.
So a lot of questions going into this. So we got to go back to the major dramatic question, Una. Is this an anti-war rally?
This is a tax haven. This is a money laundering event.
Well, and that's the other funny thing is like, you can't be a nonprofit organization if you're running people for office. So the libertarians can't do that, but the People's Party probably could, unless they're going to count their like one weird attempt to run someone in Florida.
Yeah, or just like ignore it for tax purposes.
Yeah. Either which way, I have to agree with you. It feels like some level of money is being laundered.
Yeah, with like all of the pro-Russian sentiment. I mean, not to get all conspiracy theory on everyone, but yeah, it just doesn't add up.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so many topics I want to talk about, but we just don't have time. I mean, and it's mostly with people who are sponsoring the events. You have the Center for Political Innovation, which is an organization run by a dude named Caleb Maupin, who worked for RT, is hardcore Russian communist, but also a massive sex creep.
Ooh,
He's based here. He at least had a rally here in Chicago,
no.
where it started with a weird national anthem of like the Soviet flag and the Z flag and a bunch of other flag. It looked fucking weird.
I'm a
But
little
yeah,
ashamed. We have such a strong Polish community. I feel like we would be pretty good at keeping that outside city limits, but maybe I guess I'm wrong.
yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure there's places for it. I mean, just don't go everywhere on Potchki Day and you're fine.
Yeah.
But there's that. There's a group called the American Student Union, which, if you've studied mid 2000s American history, was a real communist student organization from 1932 to 1941. But someone, I guess, bought the rights to it and seemed to be restarting it. But there's no information on what they're doing, on who's running it. There's no information. It feels like a shell company.
Nice.
Like, I think I know it. I think it's run by a dude in Vista, California, but I can't prove it. But somehow now they're sponsoring shit. It's very weird. And it's just a lot of weird shit. And there's so many people I want to bring up for being weird. There's a group called Punk Rock Libertarians, which might be the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Because, like,
Yeah. Was that just for Gen Xers?
I mean, it's probably for ANCAPs and things like that, but I don't really know. But they run their own podcast where I think all they talk about is when they're going to get canceled.
Okay.
It's just a weird mix of things, but I really want to watch it. I don't know how many people are going to show up. I don't know if it's going to be on YouTube. I don't know if anyone's actually going to stream it or succeed in streaming it.
It feels very if a tree falls in the forest right now.
Oh, fuck. Una, one last thing before we go. They added another speaker. It's a speaker who's going to be showing up by video. Roger Waters, lead singer of Pink Floyd, is going to be there. Who's gotten in a lot of recent trouble for being super anti-Semitic. But
oh no.
He also was a real big fan of Putin and has worked with Russia Today many times. So fuck, great, awesome. I love it.
Never meet your heroes.
Cool. Well, this is going to be an interesting event. Una, you going to go?
I think you should go. I think you should hop on a megabus and like.
Is Megabus still around?
Sure.
I'm looking that up right now. I mean, I thought Megabus is like Kaputski. Holy shit, they're still around. Oh my God, I'm so excited. All right, let's see if this happens. Oh man, I'd have to take a lot of connecting buses to get there.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, connecting megabuses. I'd probably have to leave today if I'm going to get there.
All right, now I'm on kayak. Let's do this.
Oh my God. All right, I'm not going, but.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, if there was a sister rally here in Chicago, I would probably go to that, but. Yeah, any thoughts and feelings on the Rage Against the War Machine? Do you get the joke yet? Do you get the play on words yet?
Okay, $140. No, $135 round trip on Spirit.
Oh no, I'm not. Look, I appreciate Spirit for having just the best attitude when I'm in the air. Like, no one's gonna lie to you on Spirit. Once I upgraded my seat on Spirit and I literally sat in a leather recliner. It was wonderful. That was first class.
Oh my God. Final thoughts about Rage Against the War Machine.
Yeah.
Has Rage Against the Machine come out with any statement regarding this terrible unuse of...
They have not, but not for lack of trying to goad them. So many people online have been saying, oh, of course, Rage Against the Machine's not going to be here because they're part of the machine now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I do love that sense of like, I don't think about you at all. That
right.
Rage
Yeah. Like Zach De La Rocha and Tom Morello and the other two are busy. They're still fucking busy. And after reviewing a lot of their older music, the fun thing to do in the early 2000s to be like, I bet they're faking it. I bet they don't actually fucking care. Watching it, yeah, they kind of fucking care. I think they really fucking
care. Definitely care. Yeah.
So yeah, they're not going to be at this pro-Russia war rally. It's not their fucking thing.
No.
Yeah. So I don't know. Thoughts, ideas, questions?
Yeah. I mean, like you, I'd love for a little bit of news review of how this shit show goes down. But then again, we can't even get decent coverage of a train car filled with environmental disaster chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
So not holding my breath. That's my final 2 cents.
Yeah. Well, I'll make this promise. Next week's episode is going to be one of two things. It's either going to be a review of the rally and the bullshit said during it,
sure,
or the other topic that I had planned, because
Yeah.
we got to be good civic people. We can't just like talk all this shit and then never vote. So I'm going to review the 8 people running for mayor of Chicago.
Hey, and if we meet on Monday on President's Day, no less.
Oh my God, that's a good point. Oh man. All right. I need to work. Fuck. But yeah, if it's the first, it's going to be a very much, all right, we're going to listen to this and I'm going to want to hear your reaction to this nonsense. And
No.
I swear, if Jimmy Dore does a stand-up set, I just will burn the tapes.
Great.
Anyway, so on that note, everyone, thank you so much for joining us here on Gadfly. If you want to listen to the war rally, I don't know where it's going to be. No one said anything because it's a well-oiled machine. Either which way, we'll see you next time here on Gadfly. Forgot to do it. Damn it. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?